So on that, I was going to talk about common traits that you guys can either agree with or dispel.
Sure.
That I've got from the takeaway. So do Asian women flock together? And reason being is most of the guests we've had say that they usually get on better with other Asian women off the bat.
Yeah.
Just because there's the like of bubble tea, desserts, those sorts of things. You've had a similar upbringing. You probably went to Chinese school, those things.
Yeah.
Do you guys find you're more comfortable around other Asian women?
I would say so, but it depends on the energy that the other person is giving back to.
Yep.
I don't know. Like some people might not be open to making new friends or maybe having a bad day. So if you getting that kind of energy from the other person, then it might not be always so easy. But usually, yeah, like if they're open to talking and you like can bond over certain likes, like bubble tea, then it's pretty easy, like you said, because there's common ground. But also it doesn't, it's not always females, like even males.
Yeah.
Like you kind of just like naturally gravitate to conversations with each other.
So you go to like a party and you don't really know anyone.
Yeah.
If you see an Asian group, would you go that way or would,
Yeah,
is
I would.
that sort of the mindset?
Yeah, I definitely would.
'Cause that's common.
Yeah.
Very common. What about you, Louise?
I guess like maybe why we'd flock together is that like Asian women have a lot of similar problems. My workplace is actually, we've got a lot of Asians.
Yeah.
And then I find that when I talk to other female colleagues, maybe we've had the same argument with our mom. And so we bond over that and share like what has helped. Because I think the relationship between an Asian mum and her daughter is quite unique. And so in that way, I think we would bond well together. But it's hard because in my high school years, we had Asians at our school, but I think my friendship group was a lot of mix. Like everyone, mostly females, but it was like all different kinds of cultures.
Yeah.
But then when I went to uni in Sydney, obviously a bigger Asian population, then I did gravitate towards more of an Asian friendship group.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with my wife, I'm using her as the example because she was saying that that's exactly her. If there's an Asian group, she'll go there first.
Yeah.
And to your point, Louise, it's that relationship with their parents or their mum. So you had a curfew. All the other girls, Asian girls, had the same curfew.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed to date during high school. Just those sorts of things.
Yeah.
That's true.
Kind of builds that
Yeah.
immediate, okay, we're the same. We've a lot to talk about already.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we agree with that one.
Yeah.
Bubble tea and dessert. So I never grew up with it, so I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
But like a lot of our friends are very into it. I'm assuming you guys are as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it
Short
the flavor? Is it the... I don't even know. What is it about it that you guys love?
It was literally one of our first questions in our first episode of getting to know us. We talked about bubble tea.
It's the QQ feeling, you know.
Is it the pearls that you like?
Yeah.
It's everything.
It's all encompassing.
First of all, the tea. Like, you know how in Australia, like people drink tea, but they don't really tend to have it as a dessert.
Right.
Whereas bubble tea, it's like sweet tea. Like it almost sounds healthy, but it's not. And I personally really like tea. And so with tea with milk and then like the bobas are like, yeah, like Louise said, quite bouncy, like good texture. And sometimes they can have like brown sugar with them. So yeah, sweet.
I like the different flavors that you get beyond like the Western, I don't know, like milkshake flavors or like smoothie flavors.
Yeah.
You get I guess it's the Asian flavors coming out. You know, your taro, matcha, hojicha. The list goes on. But I will say that it is definitely more of a city thing. So back in Canberra, I would probably get it maybe once a month or every 2 months because it's just not available and it's just not that good. And then you come to Brisbane, let's not even talk about Sydney.
Yeah.
And then like, yeah, I gained a few kilos from just bubble tea weight.
Yeah.
What's the weekly consumption then for you guys?
I will say that I got to 4 bubble teas a week. I have now cut down to maybe once a month again.
Okay.
Yeah. Louise, she gets them more often because she lives south side. So there's more options.
It's so
whereas
hard.
I live north side. It's so sad. Like I have to travel to the city or south side to get a bubble tea. Yeah. Let's not talk about that depressing situation.
We can get one afterwards.
We should. So I actually don't have them that often recently. Like when I was like when I would go on dates with my partner in the city, we would always get one because there's many available there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how it's like a work thing maybe to all get coffees together? At my workplace, it is to all put in a bubble tea order. I kid you
Yes.
not, it is.
Probably speaks to how many Asians, as you said before, work together.
True.
The next one then. So are our parents hoarders? Are your parents hoarders? My parents don't think they are, but I think they are.
You think they are?
Yep.
Yeah. I think my parents are. I think my mum is.
My mum is.
Yeah.
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 And that's a commonality, right, with most Asian immigrant parents.
Maybe it's because of, again, coming from the not having enough to just holding on to everything.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. Then my is totally as well.
Oh.
He keeps like all my primary school notebooks, like not textbooks where you can actually reuse them, but the notebooks that I've already written in with my maths like equations on. And I'm like, why are you not just recycling this? When we were moving house between 2 houses, it's a perfect opportunity, right, to get rid of some things in the garage.
Yep.
They carted everything back to the new place. And then they were like, oh, sort it out later. And they never sorted it out.
Oh my goodness.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And then I guess my last one is, and be honest if you didn't or you did, have you guys actually faced discrimination in Australia for your race?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
You guys give me an example of what might have happened.
I think it is more when I was younger. I definitely remember being discriminated or like bullied in primary school, and I think it is from my background.
Was it physical or
Just verbal.
Yeah.
And I just think it stems from lack of education. Like kids are kids, we do dumb things, we say dumb things, and maybe it's because at the time, like maybe their parents didn't tell them. I went to a predominantly Western school as well, so obviously very clearly a bit of an odd one out.
Yeah.
And kids tend to pick on people that are different to them. As I've grown up, not so much. I've found maybe because of the representation becoming more prevalent in our society and maybe just moving to places with more of an Asian community, I don't feel like it's a problem anymore.
Yeah. Mine's a bit different. So I would say I was very lucky growing up in my schools. I don't think I felt direct discrimination towards my race. Maybe because the friends that I hung out with were very inclusive. So that was lucky. I think in society in general, like walking around, I've had instances where people might have made a really racist comment, like just maybe like in the shopping centre, and I just ignore them and just keep walking. But obviously that's not nice to hear. And sometimes you want to bite back, but then it's probably better of you if you just, keep going with your life. Like they don't deserve that kind of time. And then I would say the rest of it is more like either silent discrimination or people don't realize that they might be discriminating in a certain way. Like, for example, like at work, we do get asked a bit like, oh, where are you really from?
That's the question, right?
Yeah. And it's always like in my mind in that instant, I'm like, how do I answer this question? Like, do I tell them my whole backstory? Like, oh, hey, I was born in China, but I moved to Australia when I was 4. So it's not always like a clear answer. And most of the time, I don't really take too much offense to it because I know they're not coming from a bad place. They're just being curious. But yeah, like sometimes it can feel a little bit like they're judging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? To both of you? I guess. Do you feel that same kind of discrimination when that question is asked from someone of your own race? I find a lot of
Where are you actually from? Question.
yeah, like I find a lot of Asians that come through my workplace. They ask me that question.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's a
Definitely
good question.
not.
No, I don't
Because
think
I
so.
think it's pretty common. Like
Yeah.
we probably spoke this morning when we
Yeah.
first met. It's like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
so where are you guys from?
Yeah, I asked
Obviously,
you.
know you guys from here. But
Yeah.
You don't get offended. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's an interesting double standard that we have
Yeah.
as immigrants.
Yeah, that's right. And maybe because we assume that we're coming with the attitude of being curious and just wanting to know more. And the way we ask it too.
I think it's the way it's asked.
Yeah, usually quite respectful and nice. Yeah.
And then last one on this kind of topic or side is, what is it like being a young Asian woman at the moment? So I'm more looking at it from, okay, you've had the pressure from parents, not necessarily your situation, but it's get educated, do this, do that, set yourself up, hopefully be better than the last generation. Do you guys feel pressure that you have to kind of not stray too far outside of the box in terms of it's got to be, okay, well, I've got a job and then I've got to get married and I can't deviate too far away from that? Do you guys feel that pressure, or it's not necessarily something you guys worry about too much?
I feel like I do feel the pressure in some aspects, like, getting a job, getting a house, getting married, having kids, those timelines. I think because I do come from quite a traditional Chinese background, my parents and grandparents are not as progressive. So it kind of, I think when my grandparents call my parents, all of the conversations is like, when is Aylin getting married? So then inadvertently that becomes pressure to me. But I myself try and stay balanced. I listen to their advice as recommendations because I understand they're coming from a good place.
Yeah.
But then you shouldn't put so much stress and pressure on yourself that it actually becomes a negative thing.
Yeah. The worst you can do then is do a knee jerk and just marry someone for the sake of it.
Exactly.
To meet those timelines, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, and I find that maybe it's because we're also females. I feel as though there's like some extra stuff that's put on us by our families. Just in general, though, it's just, especially from doing the podcast, it's been an eye-opener to see the challenges that we face as ABCs or like female ABCs. It's actually a very tough place to be. You're in the middle of two cultures when you have traditional parents and you want to be respectful and you want to please them. You want to meet their expectations. But then you see the other side as well, and you see the good things about maybe the Western culture. And then I find it's a bit of a juggle to try and balance out taking the good things from the Asian culture and then the Western culture and trying to make it me and my culture.
Yeah.
And it sometimes doesn't, they kind of do clash. And like my parents have things to say about like some things they don't agree with maybe the Western culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, I've come to realize as I get older, it's about maybe our parents will always be concerned with whatever decision we make, but we need to just maybe weigh up the pros and cons, make what we think is the best decision for ourselves. We will get the backlash maybe from the parents or like concerns, but hopefully in the end they'll see our progress and then be happy for us. And if we have made the wrong decision, at least we can learn from that as well.
Yeah, really nicely said. I think also in a way, we're almost like a new wave of, I don't know, like species.
We're an experiment.
Yeah.
Because it's going to work in a country like this, right?
Because our parents were maybe first, second generation, first time coming to Australia from their respective countries. And then we're getting brought up or born in this Western society with our
Yeah.
Asian background. So yeah, like you said, Louise, we're kind of working through that amalgamation.
Yeah, like there's so many amazing things about our culture, but because our eyes have been open to a different viewpoint of things and different cultures, maybe we've noticed some things that aren't so good about our culture, or maybe it's just our family and we want to move away from that. And doing that in a respectful way and being able to justify ourselves to potentially parents that might not understand because they have their own viewpoint is quite difficult.
Yeah.
And so I do feel pressure from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're sort of coming full circle because I was going to mention this at the start, Louise, and then when you brought up what parents think it's like to be brought up in like the traditional Chinese upbringing. So one of our early episodes, we had my wife's auntie, Sophia, and she was born in Vietnam. They came over by boat. And anyway, her parents had this like ideological idea that this is how Vietnamese kids are raised. But the problem is they left in like the 50s and the 60s. And that's a long time from now to what the modern day Vietnamese kids are raised like. So their whole thing was you got to wear the traditional dresses and there's a certain way, you got to do makeup and just things like that. But they were stuck 50 years ago on what it was like. I'm sure it's way different to what it was like 50 years in Australia, what kids were like. So a lot of the immigrant families, the Asian immigrant families, they bring that mindset. They think that that's what it should be. It's like you say, it's that struggle, it's that battle of trying to take the good from each and, be true to yourself at the end of the day, because you can only try to live for your parents for so long.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're going to pass hopefully before we do, and then we've got to relive the rest of our lives.
Yeah. We also did an episode with some girls in Hong Kong talking about our parents' ideals of success versus our ideals of success, which was quite interesting as well because they are different. And then, it's like our parents and us trying to see each other's viewpoints. It's sometimes not always obvious. Maybe like where each of us is coming from. I try to keep an open mind and just be like, listen to my parents, understand the reasons why they think this is the right path. And then you just kind of hope that they also listen to why we think our choices are right for us as well.
Yeah. And also, I think I always need to remind myself that usually parents are coming from a place of love and they want the best for you, and also imparting certain aspects of our like Chinese culture is because they want to preserve it, like they don't want to be completely westernized even though they've migrated here, which is, I totally agree with those mindsets, but it's about the delivery and it's about the level of which you take what advice they give you for your own circumstance. Yeah.
100% agree with all of that. And it goes back to perspective, right? It's all perspective. Is can we then, are we mature enough to realize, yes, the parents, all they want is for us to be happy and the best for us. It's not necessarily because they want to mold us in a certain way and I'm going to rebel against that at all costs, So the perspective is so key.
Yeah. And maybe when we were younger, it's really hard to come to that understanding because we weren't as mature or like we didn't really think about it that much. In the moment, it feels awful. Yeah. But now it's easier to think through and understand.